Let's now discuss tastes, including the 5 main tastes. Here we have an image of the tongue. And as you can see here, there are different regions of the tongue that respond to different tastes. There are only 4 listed here because that's all the textbook gets into, and this image is from the textbook. The 5 main tastes include bitter, where you can see at the back of the tongue there are receptors that we'll look at in a minute here that respond to bitter flavors. We have receptors that respond to sourness, receptors that respond to salt, and receptors that respond to sweet. A 5th type of taste is savory taste, and these are regions of the tongue that respond to savory flavors and have been shown through research to respond to monosodium glutamate, or MSG, that you may have heard of being an additive to food. If we were to take a closer look at the tongue in this region here, what we would see are the taste buds that line the tongue. So the tongue is actually fairly rough, as you can see here in the zoomed in image of it, and we can see the taste buds that are embedded within the tongue. If we were to take a cross section of one of those taste buds, this is what we would see here. As you can see, there are grooves to either side of the taste bud, and there are these little blue areas here that are actually the receptors of the taste bud. If we were to zoom in here, we can see that these are the receptor cells. These are chemoreceptors that respond to the chemicals that are found within our food. So once you put food in your mouth, you start to chew it up. You have salivary glands releasing saliva, and the chemicals start to break down, and as they break down, they move into these grooves beside the taste buds, and the chemicals react with the receptors for taste. Those receptors for taste, like all receptors, then trigger an action potential along the sensory neuron, as you can see here. Smell is another process that has chemoreceptors. Ultimately, when we're smelling chemicals in the air. So if you've ever walked into a room, let's say, where someone's baking cookies and it smells really good, it's because as those cookies bake, things like sugar and so on are being given off by the cookies into the air, and as you breathe in, those chemicals are going into your nasal passage here, and then you have chemoreceptors at the back of your nasal cavity, as shown here, that are reacting to those chemicals and then triggering an action potential along the neurons that are running along the olfactory nerve, shown here. Ultimately, the temporal lobe has the olfactory cortex, the portion of the brain that's going to process the sense of smell. Other regions that we should point out here are the nasal cavity, as mentioned before. And here are the olfactory receptors. Again, these respond to the chemicals that you breathe into your nasal cavity. And then here we have the olfactory nerve. We've looked at the nerves previously, and so this is cranial nerve 1, the olfactory nerve. It brings the action potential back along the neurons within it from the olfactory receptors to the temporal lobe, where you find the olfactory cortex.